It wasn't a secret thing. We never made a signal in our life to the other one. There was no conspiracy with us.
Three of them became best friends, and they traveled together and played off the same bankroll and pretty much did everything together for many years.
We lived together, we slept together. Sailor's the only grown man that ever kissed me right in the mouth.
Pooling their resources and talents, the trio posed a formidable threat.
We hit the poker circuit, and man, we hit it. And we looked like a vacuum. It sucked up every loose thing.
Always thirsting for that extra buck, they also began a bookmaking operation.
I didn't figure I was a bookmaker. I told a federal judge that I speculated on the outcome of sporting events. Think about that for a minute.
But even working as a team, their lives were in constant danger.
I had a sawed-off shotgun, had it right against my belly. Should have just went ahead and pulled the trigger on me.
Once.
And I hear these fellas, I start to say fools, screaming about how unlucky they are. That's not luck. You know what I tell them? You'd spend more time in the field plowing, less time here at the golf course. You'd be luckier.
Slim, he talked like a country bumpkin because that's what he is.
That's right, a heart and a heart.
If he start talking to me, I would laugh at him. I say, Slim, what do you think you're doing? It won't work.
He teases people a lot. They'll call him by the wrong name, like he likes to call Moneymaker Money Penny and stuff like that.
All that Amarillo. Boy, that just comes out of it naturally.
Some of these guys, they might wet on your leg and swear to you it's raining outside. You know what I'm saying?
In the early 60s, Amarillo Slim, Doyle Brunson, and Sailor Roberts went from town to town cleaning out all the local poker players.
Getting in and out of a game with the town's money and getting out of town, that wasn't easy. I mean, people get pissed off when they lose money.
I can't imagine how scary some of the things he went through was. I don't think I could go on the road and play poker if I was worried about my life.
The question wasn't whether you would win, the question was getting out of there alive.
Let me tell you, if you think it's easy to look down one of them double-barrel shotguns and some son of a bitch is shaking to start with, you're wrong.
This is a tough business back then. If you win, you worry about getting busted. If you lose, you might even get robbed when you go outside. I have to give him credit. He's a hustler, and he got to do what he had to do to survive, you know.
We were robbed several times. We were arrested too many times to remember.
But police and angry locals weren't the only dangers they faced. Robbers would often stake out the games, waiting for the players to exit with their winnings.
I got hijacked in Atlanta. I was gagged, taped, and wired bound and put in the bathtub. And at that time, they was putting that water treatment to a lot of people, making them go get money. I thought they was going to hold me under that water in the bathtub.
The three robbers took all of Slim's loot and left him wired up and bleeding in a hotel bathroom.
It seemed like I'd been in there 15 hours. I can't holler, and I'd try to bang my head on the side of the tub, but there's nobody to hear it.
Eventually, a hotel maid would find Slim and call the police. But when they questioned him about his attackers, Slim refused to answer, preferring to take justice into his own hands.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to say anything. We had our own means. I caused those people some misfortune. One of them turned himself in for protective custody and was found hanged in Kansas City. I'm sure he committed suicide. One of them was outside of Pecos, Texas, and he'd evidently run through a fence. He had a bad incision. Another one was at Port Aransas in South Texas. He probably come into contact with some weight, but that, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. Poker's a hard way to make an easy living.
Next up, Slim takes his ruthless act to the city of sin. After years spent hunting down backroom card games, the trials and tribulations of life as a Texas road gambler would eventually wear on Amarillo Slim and Doyle Brunson. But with their thirst for gambling still not quenched, they would finally answer the clarion call of the desert's growing oasis of sin. By the mid-60s, Las Vegas was firmly entrenched as America's top gaming destination, but it still wasn't a place for high-stakes poker. Slim and Doyle sought to change that. They rode into town looking to break some Vegas hotshots with their little old game from Texas.
Hold'em was a Texas game. Doyle and Slim, they brought Texas Hold'em there, and it was kind of an inside game.
The nucleus of professional players that were here, they weren't that proficient in Hold'em.
Best players in the hometown, they'd come out here, we'd treat them like a stepchild. Man, we eat them folks up like a ginger cake.
So we caught a lot of big-money people that probably been drinking that wanted to play poker. And the games weren't really big, but they were really lucrative for us. And it's such a great game that once the players played it, that's all they wanted to play.
That's the best thing ever happened to a game of Hold'em bringing to Las Vegas. Once they play the game of Hold'em, and they never quit, because this game is very exciting and very challenging, and it's fun.
This is the grand finale. The winner gets $50,000.
Hold'em starts with 2 cards face down.
He will find Queen 7. Liebert with a distinct advantage going to the flop.
Then 3 community cards are turned face up, called the flop.
Amazing. Warburton flops 3 of a kind.
This is trouble for Kathy Liebert.
Liebert goes all in.
Call.
And he calls.
Up next, the turn, or 4th Street.
Liebert's face tells the story.
And finally, the river, or 5th Street.
Kathy Liebert is drawing dead on the river.
The best 5-card combo wins.
Patrick Warburton wins the grand finale, and Poker Pro Kathy Liebert finishes runner-up.
Texas Hold'em is the Cadillac of poker games.
You never know what you have until you have it, and that may not be good enough unless you have the nuts.
Todd bets $180,000.
But in order to become really good, it comes with experience. Knowing when to bluff, reading players, you have to learn, how to read your opponents and knowing when to call and when to fold.
Hold'em is a versatile game. It's very easy to misrepresent your hand.
If you got an ace, you got me. I call.
It's like chess, but there's lying, which is bluffing.
Johnny will win the pot with a pair of jacks.
$585,000.
It's very important in Hold'em to watch your opponent and to observe him.
So far, he's read Lee like a map every single time he's glanced at him like that.
And that goes back to Slim and I talking in the wee hours of the morning. We would talk about people, about how they react.
Don't mess with this man.
You can't train for it. And you've got an innate ability to do it or you don't. It's just that simple. And most people betray themselves in their speech.
Jack's betting and Slim sway. Amarillo Slim calls what looks to him like a transparent bluff, and he's right. Strauss is caught in a cold blood. He has nothing.
Going over here.
Slim's ability to elicit tells from tableside chatter was legendary.
He talks all the time. He gets inside people's head. He hypnotizes them.
Wait a minute, count Spanish. Slim talks people out of winning.
Those chips have no value with me. They're just clay.
If you need to get down to his knees, do whatever to win, that's Slam.
In case Mr. Holt wins it, I'll be in his hometown before he gets back home. I assure you.
He did give the impression that he was just a country bumpkin when actually he was a very sophisticated, very good player.
Anyone that differs with that opinion, I'm not hard to find.
The wily Texan would befriend his opponents so that even in defeat, they would go home happy and would eventually come back for more.
I'm playing this game a lot better than I played it last year. It suits me.
You can shear a sheep a many a time, and he'll reproduce. You can only skin him once. So I try to shear